Welcome to the Express Boats State of Waterfowl podcast series, presented by Gros Savon Lodge. Join our host, Doug Miller, Executive Operations Manager at Gros Savon Lodge, wildlife biologist and passionate waterfowler, along with co-hosts, world champion duck caller Jim Ronquest, and Case in Short owner Bill Byers Hunter Club and conservationist. State of Waterfowl is designed to provide you, our audience, with data, valuable insight, and information gathered from our guests that will allow us to scientifically determine the state of waterfowl, the health of our resource. We understand that the most valuable asset that we have is our resource. That is waterfowl. Without them, we do not have a season, commerce, purpose. Join us today as we dig deeper into what is the state of waterfowl.
All right, welcome to another episode of State of Waterfowl series, sponsored by Express Boats. We're running a little short-handed today. We got Jimbo's here today in Arkansas. What's going on, Jim?
Man, just living a good life, buddy. Got to go shoot some blue zingers this morning and had a great morning so far. So far, so good.
You can't beat that. Cason's not going to be with us. Hopefully, maybe he can join us a little later. I think he's got Lee Chose in town today, and they're doing probably some cool stuff. So hopefully he can join us. But we do have an interesting guest today. We've got Ira McCauley. And for you guys that don't know Ira, he is the creator and founder of Habitat Flats up there in Missouri. He's the innovator behind Momarsh Products. I hear he's a world-class decoy carver and runs a veterinarian clinic besides being an avid outdoorsman and passionate waterfowler. Ira, we're glad to have you with us today.
Well, thanks for having me. We'll have a little conversation about what we see in our part of the world.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get a perspective from Missouri. You know, you guys from a Louisiana standpoint are always a subject of conversation. So love to hear what's going on up there. Why don't we just start out by you telling us a little bit about Habitat Flats?
Oh, Habitat Flats is, what are we now? I think 12 years old. Formerly, we were all guiding and doing stuff before that, but I think we officially started about 12 years ago, and we've been very fortunate. It's really our version of the American dream. I mean, none of us were wealthy and none of us inherited anything. We just all shared a common vision, and we're lucky to have some good relationships and friendships in the business, and put in a lot of hard work, and had a vision for how we were going to do things a little bit different than most people out there, and got creative and did, just brought everything together, and it's been an incredible experience, and building the brand and the business has been something that's been awesome to be associated with, and to see it grow and turn into what it's become over the last 10 years is, it's just a really cool story. And I just really feel lucky to, have had the opportunity to be a part of it. And, it's a special place. There's lots of special places in the world, and it's ours. So it's cool.
It's been fun to have been from necessarily not an owner, but see it over time from its inception to now and be a part of it and get to enjoy a few days each year in that part of the world, not only with Ira, but the whole Habitat Flats crew. And, some of the better footage we've ever gotten for RNTV has been with you guys. And it's been something I've been very proud of. We've got a little trophy up here on my bookcase for best footage one year, coming out of one of Habitat Flats' favorite places. So I've been fortunate and proud to, one, be your friend, but also have the opportunity to see Habitat Flats grow.
Yeah, man, thanks. It's been, we've had a lot of good times together through the years, and certainly, R&T and you, and Clay, certainly. There went my light. Better wave my hand. You guys were all incrementally involved and a part of what we built. And so thanks to both of you guys, and some funny stories and good memories along the way with both of you as far as the business side of it goes, and the personal side, for goodness sake. So thanks for that.
the interesting thing, you hear a lot of talk, and everybody's got opinions, right? Everybody knows what's going on with ducks everywhere. But y'all, I say this, I'm trying to keep a straight face and saying it, but there's a lot of folks that have the opinion that y'all have single-handedly ruined mid-continent mallard migration to below the mid-latitude states and the southern states. I mean, I don't know how we even shoot a duck around here anymore because y'all, but it's funny how people think that. So when you get that, what's your response?
Well, I mean, there's so many different things that come to mind. And, there's so many different things that you see that can just, they're just complete conjecture. But the main thing is that, they're a wild bird, and all that we're doing is no different than what any other fairly large wetland waterfowl manager is doing. And that's you're doing the best with what you have to try to provide the most for them that you can as far as food, resources, locations, acreage, all that. But equally importantly, hunting pressure. And in today's world, probably of the utmost importance is hunting pressure. And so, when people start talking about ice eaters delaying the migration, I mean, if someone says that, they truly have no knowledge of anything when it comes to what a mallard's going to do, because all that ice eater's going to do at best is give you a spot where you have a clean hole where you're not fighting ice with your decoys. That's the most you can hope out of an ice eater hole. The only way you're going to have ducks there is if you're not pressuring it and they've been in there and they're staying in there. And then, corn, there's a total misconception about flooded corn where people think that flooded corn is going to keep ducks from migrating. And the flooded corn is something where you can go in there and just harvest the birds with reckless abandon. There's nothing further from the truth. If anything, flooded corn really makes your ducks tougher to hunt because they can go in there at night, got covered from above, they got thermal cover to keep them warm, and they got food. And if you want to make your ducks nocturnal, flooded corn's the quickest way to do it. So some flooded corn is good, but it's only good in that it's part of the equation and part of the buffet that's on the landscape, but it's definitely not an ace in your hand, that's for sure. And we use it as a tool to bring ducks back and forth over places that we're hunting them, but we definitely don't go into our flooded corn and hunt it morning and afternoon and whack them every day. That would last for about 2 days and it'd be over.
Mm-hmm. What do you think y'all's percentage is across all the ground that you manage or control, corn compared to moist soil units? I know LG is a cool spot. If you're a waterfowl manager and want to look at a good buffet of habitat, Locust Grove is a good spot to do it. It's cool to see how that place has transformed over the years. But what do you think your percentage of corn to moist soil is across the board?
Well, Locust Grove, we have 420 acres, and we'll have somewhere between 0 and 21 acres corn, 20 acres being the maximum. Flood year 0. This year we probably have, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 acres of corn in there. And when you look at all of our properties, corn that's left, golly, I'd say it'd be maybe 10%, max 15, not even 15%, I don't think. Yeah. So it's a portion, and those ag units they serve a purpose. But when it comes to killing ducks, that's not where we're killing even close to, I'd say 30% of our ducks maybe come out of the corn, and that's probably being generous.
Yeah, it's been interesting over the years for the folks that don't know how the way y'all hunt everything has changed. It very, very little. Do you have groups hunting the cornfield. Last couple of times I've been up there, just one or two spots that they hunt. Most everybody's hunting little woods holes or little ponds off in the river bottoms that you can actually put a little more pressure on than you can hunting a food source. So that's pretty interesting how y'all do that.
Yeah, and I mean, we hunt it it's not a free for like you pay your money to Habitat Flats and you go in the cornfield whenever you want and you walk out with your 4 mallards. I mean, that's not the way it goes at all. It's all the way that we hunt everything, including the corn, is that we're using it as a tool, and we're hunting it sometimes midday, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes not at all. So, if we see a big front coming, we may want them to get loaded up in there for a day or two, and may lay off it completely. And then we just hunt it as we need to. There's times we need to hunt it just to make those birds not get too lazy. We don't want them, we need to make a move. So we'll go in and hunt it sometimes just to make them have to, go back and forth. But, they're so comfortable in flooded corn. It's really not it's not a very enjoyable hunt because, you go and let's say Stewart and it's, 500 acres. Let's just say there's a bunch there. That's 30, 40, 50,000 ducks. You're not going to have a flock of ducks. I mean, you are not going to shoot a flock of ducks. Everything's going to be ones or twos that you're breaking off, one that's going from this spot to that spot or whatever, but you're not competing with all those ducks that are in there. And when you shoot, they're so comfortable with all that cover there that all they're going to do is just go a little further away from you. You know what I mean? So it's not like you go in there and the skies open up and you got bunches of hundreds just coming in with reckless abandon over and over. Your typical flooded corn hunt is one or two at a time, unless there's some ice on there. And that's kind of the way they tend to go. Some of it's almost pack shooting, and some of it's just breaking ducks on the call and pulling them off where they were going and having them come in with the decoys,
You guys do a great job with social media, and watching your videos and stuff makes anybody want to go up there. But like you said, you guys seem like all the videos are greenheads and shooting just mallards. But where are the other ducks this time of the year in Missouri? I know you and I had talked the other day, and you were saying, from a guy from Louisiana standpoint, to say you're stopping all the ducks, all I see on videos is mallards. So where's the gadwall? Where's the teal? What else? What other species are hanging around in Missouri at that time of the year?
Well, we had a 5-year change this year. So the last 5 years we've opened up later than normal. That was hunter sentiment was open later. So that's what we did in that 5-year stint. Now we moved it back forward in the north zone, which is where our main lodge is again. So this year we'll open October 30th. And so that's good because that gives us more chance at the early season ducks that I personally, and I mean, I'm an equal opportunist. I'm no greenhead purist. I'll shoot anything that comes into the decoys. So I love the early season, where we can shoot a variety and, we're a transition state. So when you open up a little earlier, you're getting birds that are fresh, right? They're coming through. They're not birds that have been staging for a while. So, you're going to have some nice flocks that just got there, don't know where they're going, haven't really settled in yet and all that. But we dang near everything. I mean, we shoot everything, pintails, all the typically at all, but, gadwalls, some widgeon, black ducks, got everything comes through here. But typically by Thanksgiving, we're down to pretty much mallards. That's about it. Like if you see an odd duck, you're dang sure going to shoot it because that might be the only one you see all day. So a lot of days from Thanksgiving on, you get your 4 mallards and you're out of there. We don't stick around and hunt for another duck. And so when the guys in Louisiana, let's say a guy down in Hackberry is going, God dang, all my ducks are in Habitat Flats. No, your ducks left us 2 months before. I don't know where they are, but they're dang sure not up here, And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of things that come into play there, but it's definitely not that they're staying up in our part of the world. And honestly, you think about last year, we didn't open until November 7th. And we had such a big migration. Everybody saw it there that third week of October. We had a huge migration. And by the time we opened, other ducks were, I'm not going to say few and far between, but they were getting sparse. We had a lot of mallards. And I think last year I only shot 1 or 2 wood ducks, which is unheard of. Normally first couple weeks, you just could shoot 3 wood ducks every day if you wanted to.
Something you mentioned that a lot of people don't think understand properly when you think about migration corridors is you said you're in the transition area, transition state. Explain that to folks that may not understand what you mean by transition state, transition area.
Well, here, you really see it, the miracle of the migration just blows me away every single year. So, let's take teal season. That's the first time you're typically out in the marsh duck hunt. And every year when they show up, I'm just like, I can't believe they did it again. It's not friggin'. And here they come. And all, your other migrants like widgeon and pintails in particular, a few mallards, some gadwalls, but it blows me away when you go up again. You really see a progression of the migration. So we've got 4 seasons, which some states down south don't have. We get to see the 4 seasons here, and we really see the migration here. So we start off with blue wings come through, and a lot of what happens here is very dependent on what our area wide conditions are. We have lots of water. We're going to have a ton of those migrants stick around, and we have a whole lot of ducks in October. If we're dry, man, they skip right through, right to wherever they're going for the winter. So how long those ducks stick around depend on our habitat conditions. But I used to live down in Lake Charles for a little bit, and I saw blue-winged teal down there before anyone in Missouri would see blue-winged teal here, because that is where they're going. And they don't make a lot of noise when they migrate, but we see the same thing with speckled bellies and snow geese. Those early specks and snows, they're going to start coming over here any day now. And not every day, but lots of days there in mid-October, every time you walk outside, you'll hear them. You might get a couple that hit the ground and they're gone the next day. But most of them, we don't even see any around until around the 1st of December is when we really start to get the ones that stick. And we see that with the mallards too. Like our early mallards, I think some of them, they're going to Arkansas, and we may have them for a day. We may have them for just a little bit, but a lot of those early mallards that come, they're going to leave. They're going to go further south, and then we're going to get the ones that kind of stage and kind of stick around and stick with us, and I think that if you could, you hear people talking about calendar versus weather ducks all the time, but we definitely see it here. Because we're kind of in the middle, we see it with the species transition, and then we see it with the densities as well, where they show up and then they're gone, and then other ones come, and then some of the ones you lost start to come back later.
Why don't you explain a little bit more about the uniqueness of the area that Habitat Flats is in? How the area is kind of called the Triangle or the Grand Pass area. What's so unique about that part of Missouri?
Well, we're north central Missouri. And so there's really 2 main rivers that come together there. You've got the North Grand River that comes down from, kind of east of Squaw Creek or whatever they call it now. And it comes down, and then it hits the Missouri River right there where our other lodge is, the Grand. So our one lodge is in Sumner, which is by a refuge called Fountain Grove, or a federal refuge called Swan Lake. And then our other refuge our other lodge down by Grand Pass, which is on the Missouri. And so, those 3 or 4 areas, Fountain Grove, Swan Lake, Grand Pass, Dalton Cutoff, they kind of form what's referred to as the Golden Triangle. So it's kind of unique because, it's pretty hilly country right around there. There's a lot of more upland type country there. And, but you've got this little, I'm going to say 40 or 50 by 20 or 30 mile stretch of lower area. Not that it's round or square or anything, it has, maybe only 10% of that would be wetland type habitat, but that area in there is just kind of it's a point where those birds will congregate before they start to really get into the more hilly, lakey type of area that separates our area from Arkansas. So like a lot of those ducks that we have, they might stop at Truman or somewhere down in there. And then their next stopping point from there, unless they go east or west, is going to be the Grand Prairie. They'll fly right over the Ozarks, or they got to go over to like the Neosho, go down through Kansas and Oklahoma that way, or they got to take a east and go over to St. Louis and then come down to Mississippi. So, I think some of them get bottlenecked up right in there where they got to make a decision to either go south or east or west. But that journey south is pretty good, not a whole lot of duck habitat, except for really right around Truman Lake between there and the Grand Prairie.
So in the deer hunting world, go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say to what he said there, it shows pretty well too. You watch some of the transmitted birds that Doug Osborne's groups put on, you kind of see there's kind of a direct track. You see it more in the springtime or the flyback going from here. I was watching one day, they left literally was right here outside of Stuttgart, and it went right to behind the main lodge up there in one pass. And so you can kind of see that and how that affects us. And I think on these warmer years, I think that winter density widens out. The wintering density widens out. We may get a big pile of them here if we got good water and good conditions, but if we get dry or a lot of pressure, I think a lot of those ducks will move back there, or vice versa. If they get dry or lots of pressure, it'll push them here. A couple of years ago, remember, everybody was upset about having a tough duck season, and the Missouri River was flooded from, I don't know how far up the line, all the way down. I remember going to Jake's in Nebraska, wherever we crossed the Missouri River there on that highway, getting into Nebraska, Ira, whatever.
Nebraska City.
Yeah, Nebraska City. I remember crossing there twice one year, and it's just as far as you can see, ducks everywhere. And you was talking about Big Gun, our buddy Big Gun Bob killing them every day up there, and no reason to leave because they had plenty of water. And what are they? Waterfowl. So,
well, and you can see so like the managed areas had no pull, right? They had no draw, they had no food, and there was water everywhere. So the playing field was leveled. You guys know what it's like in Arkansas, but there were lots of ducks scattered up and down the Missouri River, but nothing to really concentrate them. And there was no infrastructure for people to even be able to get at them, So they kind of had a big free pass for a long, long time.
They'll move back and forth.
That's very unusual because generally speaking, when it comes to natural wetland resources, we're a desert compared to Arkansas and Louisiana. Unless we get something, like a really wet fall, we don't have near the habitat that the guys down south do, or obviously up in the Dakotas either. So, I love going to Arkansas and Louisiana for that matter. And I love the culture down there. I love hanging out with the people down there. I like to shoot a duck down there, but I'd love to drive around and just look at the landscape and all the habitat that there is and the diversity and all that. It blows my mind.
Ira, have you noticed any change in hunting pressure in the state of Missouri, or more and more people managing their land for waterfowl, or has it stayed kind of the same?
Oh, I mean, I don't think Missouri is any different than anywhere else. I think the whole country, there's more people not only developing more waterfowl hunting locations. I think there's more people doing a good job of it. Certainly, there's a lot more spots that are getting hunted nowadays, and there's a lot more habitat on the ground for them as well. But there's also more people doing a good job of it as well. To me, just leasing a pit somewhere and having expectations that are high, that's such a different level from somebody that's actually trying to manage that resource and take care of it and all that stuff, and I think there's a lot more people doing that. And I think that's where a lot of our paper ducks is they're sitting on those spots, especially when you get a year with poor production, when you got smart ducks that have a little age on them. They know the game and they know how to play it. And those ducks aren't in locations necessarily where they're going to get counted.
That's a good point. And to paper ducks. And speaking of, ducks getting counted and keeping ducks around, besides y'all, is there other folks? There are other folks in that part of the world that are kind of doing the same thing, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And most everybody's doing a pretty good job of managing. We've been up there a couple of different deals we've done with Mickey and Lee and different ones on the workshops, where people are coming to learn to try to, how can we better manage our habitat to better increase our hunting opportunities, along with not only ducks, but have more quail, more deer, more everything. And I think that's a big push everywhere.
There's a handful in our part of the world. There's a handful of people that are doing a really good job and that really, are great managers and taking good care of the resource and hold a lot of ducks. And, at least in our part of the world, the surveys are all standardized and on known areas that are public areas that have been historically counted areas. And so, when you look at the counts, that's what's reflected in the counts. It's not that, so-and-so has 50,000 and so-and-so has 30,000. You know what I mean? They're just, you see it more over here on the St. Louis side, but none of that is accounted for up in our part of the world. One thing I will tell you, and we talked about it a little bit the other day, I don't know what this means or where they were, but if you sit down and you look at the data that MDC publishes, they publish a daily estimated count, whether it's ground count, and then, biweekly they do an aerial flown count. And typically the Golden Triangle is going to peak somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million birds between, the three refuges there. And last year, our biggest number that we had was 260,000 ducks. So, even if you took the lowest of the averages, we were still only at half of what we've historically been in the last, I'm going to say 8 years. So where were they? I don't know, but they weren't here. So all the guys think we got them all. We didn't have them last year either, not like we normally do. So I don't know if they were north of us or west of us or south of us or where, but we just never had the numbers last year that we normally do.
So I'm sure you're aware of all the COVID issues with not having a BPOP count on the prairie now going on to the second year. I know you had mentioned you're not a biologist, but from a hunter standpoint in Missouri, what do you think about all those things with not having a count and setting seasons? Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, I think that a duck, and I feel like I saw it last year. Last year when I added up our numbers on our personal place, I really thought my feeling, without having looked through the book at all and tallied any numbers, was that we were going to be way down. I was going to say we were going to be 40+% down. And when I tallied it up, it really wasn't that bad. We were only down like maybe 20%. It was about 20%. And, but the big difference was that we had no flocks. We had very few days where we shot any flocks. It was mainly 1, 2, 6, one, there were none of those flocks that just burn a memory into your brain. And my opinion is that A, we got a lot of them early and they were here for a long, long time. And then B, I think a lot of them were old birds. I mean, I just really think that a lot of those ducks were wise to the game. Like we talked about before, we're a transition state. So those ducks are here today, gone tomorrow. And usually a spinning wing decoy is going to benefit you significantly. And, you're going to kill more with it than you are without it. Last year, I barely used one because, man, I mean, you'd start off with 40, you'd end up with one, maybe. And we just had better success keeping the birds that we started without one. And to me, that translates into an older population of birds. So I think that even if our season lengths are still pretty liberal and the population's down a little bit, I think that I still don't think that we're going to hurt them that bad. I think that they're going to just the age structure is going to compensate for that some, but it sure will be nice to get some objective data again, where we're not so in the dark, and we can make decisions that are more objective and based on something that mean more than just a wild ass guess, So that's why today, probably more than any year, I was amazed when I was out there teal hunting and I was seeing mallards and pintails and which, and I was like, well, goddamn, they aren't all dead. How about that? And here they are again. It's just awesome to see.
Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be one of them years where them old ducks we'll see them get smart pretty quick.
Yeah,
for sure.
We were hunting in the Southwest Pool there. We were in between those little buckbrush piles. And, that was about as good looking spread as you could have, and not that many decoys, which I like when you're hunting a place that they're living. And buddy, they knew that was a decoy. We had an incredible hide, and we even had Blake hidden, and we didn't have out too many decoys. And man, they'd be coming just bowed up, and they'd get out there about 50 yards, and they were like, no.
No, I'm not buying it. Yeah.
They didn't know that, but there were plenty of them that did, and it wasn't because they were seeing the boogeyman.
No. Now, it does help when you keep the gas tank covered up.
Well, that day was a different day, but yes, that definitely makes a difference.
But no, you're correct. They can, I know you've flown a lot, and everybody here has, and one of the first times I was able to get in an airplane in duck country, it amazed me how far I could tell the difference with my just naked eye between live ducks and decoys. Now, granted, a duck may only have the brain the size of a pea, but I think they can figure out the difference between decoys and real thing very quickly. Yeah. You take a seasoned dog with just a little bit of bird experience and send them after a dead bird inside of 200 decoys, and they can pick that bird out that quick. So there's something to how they see those decoys and the paint and the color. They figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we'll be seeing plenty of that again this year.
Yeah. If you have a good day, you better appreciate it. Write that one down. And of course, I know you do. And talking about writing down, and I love your book. I know every night we come in, have a drink, and you sit there and you make notes in your book. Have you ever gone back and looked to see if there's any trends to wet years versus dry years, of years that you thought you had really good habitat and food resources, then you got a flood and it was gone? Can you see any trends to all that?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that every year I make a preseason prediction on what kind of hunting I think we're going to have that year, and I'm usually wrong. So take this for what it's worth. But the trend that definitely has held true is that wet years are always going to be better than dry years. I mean, forget food. If you got water, you're going to have better hunting. And I think it's a matter of those ducks they stay away pressure. They don't have the pressure. They have more places to go. And get into a pattern where they're all playing follow the leader and all that. But if you look through the years, even if we had a early September flood and we have absolutely no food, we're going to have good hunting. That's the biggest thing. It trumps your food, at least up in the Sumner area, up in our swampy, low part of the world. You got water all over the landscape, and it's going to be good.
So,
see there.
Weather-wise, I hear the guys in Arkansas always wanting, Jimbo wants a clear day to get in the woods. Down here at Gros Savon in these rice fields, we love these warmer days, actually, with a south wind, and cloudy days for the rice field. What's perfect weather situation at Habitat Flats? I mean, you guys kind of have a blend between the woods, and you kind of have your own unique habitat. What's the best weather conditions for you guys? Well,
I mean, the best hunting and the prettiest hunting is when the sun's shining and the wind's blowing, right? So that's what we all love, is to kill them when it's like that. But the truth of the matter here, and I've noticed it more in the last several years, is that, unless you've got some new birds or a change or something that shuffled the deck, you run the risk on those bluebird days of birds just not moving during shooting time. I mean, they fed at night, they go back to where they're safe during the day, and you just don't see many ducks. And now you might, you got a good chance of killing the ones that you see, but on those weathery days, you're going to see more ducks. So Jimbo knows my number one rule of duck hunting is I've never killed a duck that didn't fly over me. So if you're out there and it's a beautiful bluebird day and the sun's shining and the wind's blowing and you don't see a duck, guess how many you're going to kill? 0. So it just kind of depends. If you got flighty birds, yeah, man, a sunny, windy day or a sunny day is a great day to be out there, and you're probably going to have some good success. But if they're lazy and nocturnal and used up, you better hope and pray that you get some rain or clouds or something just to get them off the water and in the air.
Yes, sir.
Woods or in the field, if they don't fly over you, you're not going to get them.
Really good point. How do you see the future of duck hunting? Well,
I guess that's kind of one of the things that makes duck hunting fun, is you just don't know. I feel like and I don't want to come across as I definitely don't want this to come across as me being privileged or egotistical or any of that. So I'm going to try to choose my words. But, I think in today's world, we have a big disconnect between reality and reasonability, meaning that, if you've got 420 acres that you take care of and you hunt smart and you have good success, your expectations can be different than if you have 4 buddies that all have jobs and you rent a pit in a bean field that has a slash of water in front of it, but everybody's looking at the same social media. And so, the expectations can't be the same. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think that a lot of today's hunters see it through those eyes. You know what I mean? They see that so-and-so got them and so-and-so got them, and we get, and that's just not realistic. And I think that it creates a lot of what we see with guys down south saying, hey, Habitat Flats is stopping all the ducks. That's not true. But I also think that their expectations aren't necessarily realistic with what anyone's expectations should be. Like I teal hunted 3 days. It was me and another guy 2 of the days, and me and 2 other guys the other day, and we shot 8 teal all 3 days. And I was happy as could be. It was a beautiful morning. Got to pull the trigger. Got to see a nice flock every day. I was happy. And I just feel like there's a disconnect there, and I feel like it creates a lot of frustration for people that really is just totally unnecessary, and like I said, I see that happening, and I don't want it to come across as wrong, but I think that's going on in our world. So that's one thing I think about. And then I think that, another thing that I'm really worried about is political policy and what happens if we do get dry and we don't have the tools in place politically to, help to do the conservation practices that really help waterfowl up north, whether it's, winter weed or making sure the potholes don't get broken up. And, that's something that would really affect us all in the long run beyond just what's going on in our local landscape, which of course is the main thing that all of us pay the most attention to. We see what happens right outside our blind, and whatever happens, that's what we think duck season is all about. But, it's a whole lot bigger than that. Even in our little world, we're hunting areas that may be 40 miles apart, and the hunting's not the same day to day or year to year. One lodge or one area may do really, really good for 10 days, and the other place may be a ghost town, and they're only 7-8 miles apart, and so I think it's easy for all of us to paint with a really broad brush when, just based on what we're seeing out of our window. And, it's a big old world out there. So, we should all be kind of learning and listening and seeing what everybody else has, and not chucking spears because we didn't get them all 60 days,
Amen. I think too many people expect to get them every day. We talk about the how many had a lot, but there's more to it than how many. And of course, we all like to pull the trigger for sure. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's just fun to be there. We've all had some pretty rough days.
Yep. When people ask me, people always say, well, I'm like, okay, you can come up whenever. And they're like, well, how do you think it'll be? I'm like, hey man, the only thing I guarantee is good food and a good time. That's it. I mean, if your expectations are beyond that, don't come.
We were talking this morning with Lee and Kaysen and everybody in the blind this morning on the teal hunt. I get frustrated. I see stuff on social media, grinding away, just grinding every day, grinding it out. We're going to go grind this morning, or boy, made him pay. I'm like, I stink, fellas. If it's a grind, you need to find you another job. It's a privilege that I get to go hunting, and I enjoy it. If it's that bad, you need to go do something else.
Well, it doesn't pay near as well as going to work. I can promise you that.
No, and it's even bad days can be fun. So it's not a grind, and we're not making them pay. It's enjoyable to get to pull that trigger and smell that powder and have a dangle some on the dangler rather than thinking it's a grind to have to go do it. I think that mixed up mentality has got a lot of duck hunting messed up. Just my thoughts. Again, back to it. If it's a grind for you, find another hobby. Take up golf, tennis, racquetball, whatever it may be. But duck hunting is not a grind.
Yeah. The other thing I want to say, just to kind of put things in perspective. I mean, we're south of some ducky areas too, right? So let's say it gets to be December and we get a big cold snap. What do you think we're doing? We're looking to see what's left in South Dakota on the river and all that stuff, right? And so, even though we're north of a pile of duck hunters, we get a big freeze up in December. We're hoping that there's still some more to come for us. But when I think about it and look through my record books from the years, usually those real late fronts are letdowns. I mean, usually those ducks are there, man. Unless you get a huge snow, they're not coming. I mean, they're dug in and they're staying up there. And our ducks, like people think that when it freezes or when we get cold, those ducks are going to stay in that flooded corner. No, man, it freezes solid. Those ducks leave. They're gone. Unless you're just absolutely not hunting them, they may come in there and walk on the ice, maybe if they have a safe place to stay. But generally, you've been to our part of the world, when it freezes up, they're gone. I mean, I'm not saying they left like the state, but they're not in our little part of the world. I mean, we just don't have big water right there at Sumner for them. And so we're hoping for a warm up so we can get some back, and we see that every year. We lose them and we get them back. And usually when they come back, it's really, really good. But, we're south of ducks that never get here as well, and so I think a lot of people don't really think about that. But I will say that those, like our Decembers and early Januaries, if it's warm, it's better for us. I mean, we're a lot more likely to shoot ducks coming back from the south that on a warm up, way more likely than we are on a super Arctic blast to shoot them coming from the north.
Well, Jim, it's been really cool to get to visit with Ira and get a perspective on what's going on in the Missouri area. I know this hadn't been a very scientific conversation, but when you get to a guy like Ira that's in the know and lives there and understands how all the wetlands function, it's really cool to get a perspective on what's going on up there and not have to just rely on social media.
You're correct. And, you don't have to be a certified biologist to have a little knowledge of how things work on the land a little bit either. Just spending the time out there observing wildlife and trying to plant some seeds and do some stuff. As y'all well know, you learn a lot just being there. And thankfully we have those opportunities.
Yeah. Well, as you can tell, Ira's got his veterinarian clothes on today, so we took a few minutes out of his schedule to visit. We appreciate you doing that, Ira. I know you're probably a busy guy this time of the year, so we hear a few dogs barking in the background.
I'm getting ready to get busier because duck season's almost here. So, yeah, we're I'm cutting for the day. We're going to clean up some little issues going on around here, and then here for long, we're going to shift gears and head up to duck camp. So hopefully we see y'all there this year.
Looking forward to getting up there for sure.
Yeah.
It's been great. We appreciate it, Ira. And we missed Casey today. If he's out there listening, we hope everything's going good for him today. So for all our listeners out there, we want to remind everyone to share the State of Waterfowl with everyone. This is some really good stuff, whether it's scientific or opinions. It's definitely an interesting perspective on what's going on in different parts of the country. And we thank all the viewers that follow us. And again, just remind them to share it with all their friends. So from the guys at Gross Savon and RNT and the people at Express Boats, thanks for allowing us to put this on. And we hope to see you with the next episode.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Be sure to invite your friends to listen, share, and subscribe to this podcast. We all want to know, what is the state of waterfowl?